Thank you, Karen, and thank you for all that you've done during this difficult time. Students across Florida are depending on educators to help them stay on track. And United Faculty of Florida is making sure that those educators have the support that they need to do their best work. So thank you for your leadership. And hi, everyone. I'm excited to join my fellow educators today. And I hope you're staying safe out there. As many of you know, I teach writing and English at Northern Virginia Community College, where I taught all 8 years we were in the White House. And if you're like anything like me, you learn as much from your students as they do from you. Mine have always grounded and inspired me. They come from all walks of life, veterans, first-generation college students, and refugees from around the world. They work hard and they ask for nothing in return but the chance to make a better life for themselves and their families. And they've been a source of strength when I least expected it. A few years ago, I had to tell my class that I would miss the next session for personal reasons. Now, my students have a lot of shining qualities, but boundaries are not one of them. So they immediately began shouting, "Dr. B, where are you going?" My sister Jan was having a stem cell transplant, the first of her cancer treatments, and she would be isolated in a hospital room for over 6 weeks. And I tried to explain that to them with as much composure as I could muster, but the words caught in my throat. So I turned and I faced the whiteboard, hoping to hold back my emotions. And when I turned back around, my entire class was standing. They lined up and gave me a hug, one by one. And until that moment, I didn't even realize how much I was struggling or how much I needed them. That's the power of education. This has been an especially difficult time for educators and students. We've had to reimagine our classrooms almost overnight. We see our students struggling without the resources that they need. We see chaotic conditions and know that it didn't have to be this way. It's easy to feel so discouraged. And yet, across this country, I have seen my colleagues rise to this moment. We're coming together and holding on to each other. We're finding mercy and grace in the moments we might have once taken for granted. We're showing up for our students with all of the care and creativity we have because we know how much this matters. Education is an investment like no other. We've seen that our classes can change lives. We've seen the careers that a degree can make possible. And we've seen how our students go on to make their communities better. But what we do isn't only measured in graduation numbers or job placement. Education connects us. It connects us to our classmates, teaching us kindness and compassion for one another. It connects us to our community, instilling in the next generation the wisdom of those who came before. And it connects us to ourselves, teaching us that we can do more, go further, grow into the people we want to become. James Baldwin once said, "To ask questions of the universe and then learn to live with those questions is the way he achieves his own identity." In other words, education doesn't just make us smarter. Education makes us whole. Joe has always understood that. He knows that the best plans don't come from politics. They come from classrooms like yours, from listening to educators like us. And that's why he's going to increase our career opportunities and help educators pay off their student debt. He'll ensure that we have a voice in developing and implementing education policies. And he'll protect and expand our rights to organize and bargain collectively. He's going to invest in our students, making sure everyone has the chance to go to community college for 2 years debt-free, and help get rid of the barriers that prevent students from completing their degrees. He'll ensure millions of students go to state schools without paying tuition. He'll also invest over $70 billion in historically Black colleges and universities, as well as other minority-serving institutions. And as our classes are disrupted by this pandemic, as schools are left to figure out how to keep students and educators safe, Joe has a plan to reopen while protecting us all. He's going to make sure colleges and universities have clear guidelines and the protective equipment to prevent the virus's spread. He's going to make sure students have the broadband and the technology they need. And he's going to make sure that students and educators have the counseling and mental health support to help them thrive. Joe has spent his entire career bringing people together to make change. He has the character, experience, and steady leadership to help us recover from this pandemic. And there's no one I trust more to fulfill the promise of quality education for all. He will help us build a better future together. So just for a moment, I want to take you there. So picture it. It's 2021. It's a beautiful morning like this morning, and you're sipping your morning coffee. You pick up the morning paper, and the headline isn't about some out-of-control virus. Instead, it's about how schools and workplaces are reopening with the testing and the protection they need to keep us safe. At work, your colleague tells you that she's going to keep working after her maternity leave because she can actually afford to send her son to a great childcare center. Your student tells you she's so relieved that she can finally afford her insulin. And when you go to bed that night, you don't worry about a crashing economy or corruption in government. You don't think about our government at all, because you know that a team of talented, thoughtful, honest public servants are in the White House. And they are led by a president and a vice president you can be proud of, who believe that our best days are ahead of us. That's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But we can't get there without you. Educators are powerful. We know how to organize. We know when to use our teacher voice. And together, we can win this election for ourselves, for our students, and for the America we know we can be. Now, as an English teacher, you know I can't let you go without some literature. So in her book, Wild, Cheryl Strayed writes, "I knew that if I allowed fear to overtake me, my journey was doomed. Fear, to a great extent, is born of a story we tell ourselves. And so I chose to tell myself a different story. I was strong. I was brave. Nothing could vanquish me. This election, we will choose the story we tell about our nation. It's a choice between hope and fear, between bravery and despair. And that is especially true here in Florida. This state can decide our next president and the course of our nation for years to come. And as educators, I know that you will help us write that story. So go to joebiden.com/join to find out how to volunteer. It only takes a few minutes to make a phone call or send a text. An hour to have that conversation that will change someone's mind. An afternoon to help register someone to vote. These individual moments add up to something powerful. And together, we will tell a new story. Together, we will win. And I'll end by saying thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for your students during this difficult time. Thank you for fighting for our future. And thank you for your faith in an idea that's bigger than any one of us, that we will build a better nation because we're going to do this together. Thank you.